So, if you're not aware, on May 17th, Bohemia Interactive announced and released a new Arma called Arma Reforger. Bohemia has stated that this isn't Arma 4, rather a platform for players to play with and build on to help Bohemia make Arma 4 down the road. Reforger was released as an early access title, so you could expect bugs and the like to be present in the game as it gets built up over time by Bohemia. However, it released in early access with a $30 price tag attached to it. We talk about all of this and my personal experience with the game in today's video. Before we get into it, if you like what you see, make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons, as that always helps me out. As a budding YouTube channel, it means the world to me to get any modicum of support, so thank you for coming through and checking out my content. With that sappy shit out of the way, let's talk about Arma Reforger. Let's start by talking about what Reforger is. Like I mentioned before, Bohemia is using Reforger as a vessel to take feedback and build on the next iteration of Arma, which will be Arma 4. I think this approach might have something to do with Arma 4 being built on Bohemia's new game engine, the Infusion engine. So anything from gameplay, graphics, physics, etc. will be tested in Reforger to make Arma 4 the best possible Arma it can be. Bohemia also attributed Reforger to being more like a platform rather than a standalone game, and plans to have it in early access for at least a year, so don't expect a solid gameplay experience from the get-go. This is more for fans of Arma that are wanting to help out in some shape or form to help build Arma 4. Weirdly enough, it comes with a $30 price tag, which I'll get into later. So with that being said, let's move on. Let's talk about the game modes really quick. There are only really 2 game modes on offer at the moment. Conflict, which is a PvP mode that is similar to Squad, but not as refined, and Game Master, which allows for a single player to create a PvE experience for everyone on the server. From what I managed to play of Conflict, it's pretty straightforward. Capture points, kill enemies, all while building up your own bases using supplies you run from your HQ out to the field. This is the mode I played the least, solely because I either can't connect to the servers running them or I get kicked not long after getting in. However, I got the idea with the time I had on it, and it's essentially a watered down Squad. While Conflict is pretty neat, I honestly would rather be playing Squad. I talked about Squad a little bit in my video about Battlefield alternatives, so check that out if you wanted some concise thoughts on that game. Then we have Game Master, or Zeus if you're from Arma 3. This is where I spent most of my time and actually had quite a bit of fun playing it. The Game Master curates the experience for all of the other players in the server in a PvE setting, and more times than not, it's a good time. Sometimes you'll get into a server that takes about 30 minutes to get going depending on who's running the show, but that's kind of how it is with some servers. I haven't had a chance to try out the Game Master role for myself just yet, but I had a lot of fun as an active participant. A lot of people I played with were very chill and mostly just shot the shit while shooting guns, which is a good time in Arma, honestly. The cool thing is that you never really know what kind of session you'll get. Sometimes you'll join a capture and hold scenario, sometimes a checkpoint defense or general search and destroy. It's really up to the Game Master. If you get a good one, you'll have a good time. Now, the weird thing some people have been talking about is that Bohemia is making Reforger pretty mod-friendly, but garner the criticism that they're letting the community build the game with mods, rather than developing the game themselves. It's definitely an odd approach when viewed under that lens, and to a point, I somewhat agree, but with my limited experience with Arma 3, I've seen Arma modded in all sorts of ways. Bohemia is just making the experience a little more streamlined for both modders and players. They're giving tools to modders to make their mods and an accessibility to those mods within the game client itself, from what I can see. On paper, that sounds awesome, though with Bohemia calling Reforger a platform rather than calling it a game is why I'm thinking this whole idea of where allowing the modders to create the next Arma narrative is coming from, and it's kind of difficult to disagree with that sentiment. Of course, the counterpoint to this is that is exactly what Bohemia wants, but not necessarily through modders, but through player feedback. The community will help build Arma 4, essentially. As far as the core experience goes, it's great when it works, but a huge issue with Reforger right now is connection stability. Whether it be getting kicked from games or being unable to join a server at all, the Reforger experience so far has been pretty frustrating. To put it in perspective, I have never voluntarily left the game in Reforger so far. I've always lost connection. I would have played a lot more Reforger if it weren't for these constant disconnections that discourage me from trying to get back into the server I just got dropped from. It's unfortunate, and I know this is technically early access, but even so, I feel like maintaining a solid connection should be a top priority for a multiplayer game, especially for a shooter like this. It sucks, but we just have to deal with it until the devs fix it. And on a side note, kind of deviating from my script here, I did play a little bit more since I wrote this script, and here's the thing. I'm now experiencing huge lag spikes in the game, and it's kind of fucking trash. I don't know what else to say, man. Bohemia really needs to get attention on the disconnections, because that is the core reason why I'm not playing this game as much as I would like to, because I'm bouncing back and forth between this and Star Citizen, and both of those games are notorious for dropping people from their servers. So I'm just kind of like, well, the two games that I want to play keep kicking me off the fucking game, so what am I supposed to do?
Everybody on radio frequency 38
electricity here, are you kidding me?
Oh god, another lag spike. This is great! Or did we lose connection completely? I wonder. Oh.
Alright, boys,
I'm lagging
really bad. What the fuck? Jesus!
I'm stuck in time.
I had the biggest lag spike I have ever had.
Was anybody just lagging? That was the biggest lag spike I've ever experienced.
Yep. Anyways, rant over as far as this section goes. Bohemia, please, I implore you, fix the connections. I want to play Arma Reforger. I really want to play it. Now, coming back to the price tag, $30 does seem like a steep asking price for a game that is promoted as a platform. It's also a steep price of entry to basically test an engine and provide feedback for the next Arma. I got into it so I could see what Reforger was all about, and in its current state, it's not something I'd recommend. Once Bohemia fleshes out Reforger a bit more and the modders get some more content for the game out, which is another weird thing lest we forget, then maybe Reforger will be fun to play without getting kicked from servers. I honestly feel like this should have released with a more sensible price tag, like $20 or maybe even $15. Only the most die-hard Arma fans will be okay with $30 because it's Arma, and the last one we got was Arma 3, originally released back in 2013. Arma fans are starved for new official content, and, well, Reforger is currently that new content. Sort of. Now this brings us to the biggest concern. Arma Reforger is also available on consoles, with Arma 4 also planned for a console release. It's not really the fact that it's on consoles that people are worried about, but rather its potential casualization of Arma that worries players. Historically, Arma has been a hardcore tactical military shooter, which often requires you to have many inputs ready to use at a moment's notice, so keyboard and mouse is the way to go for a game like this. However, with the game coming to consoles, Bohemia will have to consider the controller players despite being able to use KBM on consoles. If this is the case, the concern is that Arma will be quote-unquote dumbed down to include controller players. Not saying controller players are dumb, just saying there's not that many inputs on a controller versus a keyboard. The thing is, we are already seeing this with Reforger simplifying Arma to a more casual approach. I feel like this could be something that could affect Arma negatively, but here's what I'm thinking as a compromise. Continue to develop Reforger, and utilize that as the way Arma makes its way into the console market, as mods will help keep the game fresh with content as the years go by, and keep Arma 4 PC exclusive so Bohemia doesn't have to make any compromises to the tactical military sim longtime fans are accustomed to. If not, then have KBM be a requirement to play on console. Just because I don't feel like a controller will be enough to accommodate everything necessary to maintain a playable experience. Some other milsims can get away with it like Hell Let Loose, but I can't see Arma 4 being on console without compromising not only intricate control schemes, but the potential for higher fidelity graphics and draw distance. That's just my opinion. I swear I'm not trying to gatekeep, that's just what I'm thinking. Whether you agree or disagree, feel free to argue about it in the comments. With all that being said, I just hope Reforger does indeed lead to a better and more enjoyable Arma 4 down the road. Reforger is supposed to be in early access for a year, so this will be a very important year, not just for Arma 4, but for Bohemia as a whole. But before we can get anything suggestive for Arma 4, Reforger needs to be stabilized as far as connection issues go, and afterwards flesh out the official content so it's not just modders providing new content for everyone to play, but Bohemia as well. I'm excited to see what Arma evolves into after the Reforger era, but I can't deny that I'm feeling a little nervous about it. In the end, we finally get some new Arma and at long last have a new Milsim to sink our teeth into. We just have to wait and see what happens. And that's about all I had for this one. Thanks for watching. If you're looking for something else to watch, consider checking these videos on screen. If you like what you saw, hit those like and subscribe buttons, as that always helps me out. With that being said, With that being said, stay hydrated. I hope you have a good one, and I'll catch you next time.